You're listening to the Money Mike Syndicated Radio Podcast. How we doing? How we doing? Caitlin Clark is a great defender. Caitlin Clark team defense is actually excellent. And the Indiana Fever currently ranked seventh. How much they can improve in their team defense, which would actually move the Fever up into the rankings and take them deep into the playoffs. Those questions and more I'm going to answer for you and just kind of bring it to you to allow you to be able to understand what Indiana Fever. Because I do notice this, folks, and I'll be the first to tell you, it puzzles me. Christy Sides, what she does and how she takes Caitlin Clark out at the end of the game, it's going to be a defensive advantage, offensive advantage. And, folks, that's nowhere near what's going on. This is, and I'm not going to take it to the level because, one, she is a pro coach, so I'm not going to say Christy Sides can't coach. Obviously, Christy Sides can coach, and this is awareness meeting, or what I call it. All the Fever, or all the pros, all the players got about 25, 50 people that kind of watch over them. So I'm going to watch over this and get the message out there because some things I see I don't comprehend as far as what are they trying to accomplish and what does Christy Sides see that they're actually doing. And when you look at the Fever and you look at it from the standpoint of folks, these are the defensive stats. I want to go over that. Why do I want to go over the defensive stats? Because you got to look at it as who's winning, who's losing, what's happening in the defensive game of basketball. And you hear Christy Sides says, I like to get stops. So let's just go through the scenario. It says the Money Mike Syndicated Radio Podcast. We're powered up by Fanatics. We are driving something home, and this is Christy Sides as she avoided the lineup question yesterday. This is where we're going to get into it and do some translations and see if we can get something done that it's trying to get done. So let's go back to the team defense. New York Liberty are holding it down. Connecticut Suns running behind them. The Lynx, the Aces, the Storm, and the Mercury. Okay, facts and analytics. You want it. You got it today. Okay, so why are the New York Liberty controlling it? They're controlling the points in the paint. Okay, and they're looking at that to say, look, if we control the points in the paint, then that's what's going to dictate what we're going to do. They're sitting there at 18-4, no doubt about it. And if you go down to the Fever, average 36. So they're giving up a little bit points in the paint. The Fever, where it gets ugly differential. Okay, you're 108. And so that's where you're kind of losing that game. And, you got to look at it and say, well, what are they trying to do? And that goes back to Christy Sides. And what is Christy Sides trying to do on the defensive end? Because here's where I see it, and here's how I call it, and I'll call it just like it is. There's no doubt about it. And when you look at defense, defense is effort, and defense is also a science. Team defense is what's going on. And here's the disconnect, Kate. You got Christy Sides one stop. Caitlin Clark's playing team defense. Everybody else on the Fever is playing individual defense, and it's just leaving open just huge openings for a team to go in there and dictate what they're going to do against the Fever and how they're going to do it. Now, when you look at that, that's a problem. Okay, and why is it a problem? Because you can't go in there and you can't win ball games when your team is doing that. And you got to look at that, folks, and you got to say to yourself, well, what's going on? So you got it here, and I just clipped it out, and I said, well, let's take a look, okay? And let's look at the Fever, how they do it, how they're playing their defense, and who's doing what. Okay, so here's a ball's passed. Now, I'm gonna show you some things because I need the Fever players to be aware. I need the Christy Sides. This is a team meeting for you. I know you don't want to say it, but I'll say it for you, and I'll say it just the way it needs to be done. And when you look at this, okay, and you're telling, hey, Mitchell's a great defender, man, look at this position here. Okay, you're sealed off coming off an intro screen. You got here, you got the backmans coming. We got to jam this pick. We got over here, we got shooters going. And we don't have a triangle, and that's what you're supposed to have, folks. If you can see it, you got a triangle here, you got a triangle here, and you got a triangle in the middle. So we'll run through this and just kind of enjoy it because the Fever, when you look at it and what they do and how they're doing it, you look at that roll, okay, you look at out of position, and this is what I'm talking about, folks. It's the Indiana Fever. They're doing their thing. You'll roll through this play. This is already weak side over here. You got Mitchell again, doesn't know the basketball. You got two players here. Here comes the attack, and this is defensive rotation. Now, when it gets to Caitlin Clark and how she sets it up and how she plays it, She plays a team defense. So you'll see this thing roll over and over and over again. It's a good job by Boston coming over there and getting it done. Okay, but look, you come here. Now, this is Mitch, and what you got with Mitch has been all over the place. Mitch could be a great player, first team all WNBA, but, man, it's got to clean up. And you look at how this defensive went through. You got Caitlin Clark, and I tell you, she's a great defender. If you look at what Caitlin Clark's doing, Caitlin Clark's a great defender because she never takes her eyes off the basketball. Never takes her eyes off the basketball. So when you see plays develop and you see these shots here and you look at it and you look at the players, here you got the fever, but Samuelson doesn't even know the shots went up. You got these guys that are all just flying out over the place. And the only thing I want to tell you is you look at this and you say, hey, we want to get stopped. Okay, folks, you got to do what's got to do. There's Boston getting the rotation. So you got Boston and Clark. They clearly get it. And when this play develops, you look at this, okay, here's a double. There's either one or two things you're going to do on this. Either Boston's going to show. Now, when you got to jump out and show, it's kind of a help and recover, and the Fever don't show, okay? And that's a common thing in the NBA. It's a common thing even in college basketball. You got to show and recover, and the guards got to make a little effort. Now, you got your triangle here, you got here, you got here, and you got here. That's the triangle that comes back and takes it. That blocks and seals off for the rebounds. But you look at this thing, we're floating under the screen. We're just giving it to you. Okay, you look at it here, and you look at how they help and recover. There's Caitlin Clark, easy bucket. That's where they help. Now, let's look at this again. This is simple. Caitlin's going to run it. You got to look at guys who take their eyes off the basketball. And how's this play run through? You got it here. Now, here's the thing. The Fever don't show. Okay, the big man knows you're getting the seal. If you know the guard's getting the seal, that's your defensive responsibility, Samuelson. You got to get out there on that. This triangle, Mitchell's got to cut here, you got to cut here, and you got the triangle. But you're losing it by just giving the bucket up. And I don't know why you're just giving the bucket up. I really don't. And, folks, I'm going to walk you through this because, look, you don't have your triangle. There's no show. And Samuelson takes the wrong person. You got to take the shooter. Okay, Samuelson, take the shooter. You come off. You got it. Boom, you're there. You didn't need to switch. Okay, so you got to know that, folks. And this is where I'm getting with it. There it is. Easy. Help and recover. You can't ask Caitlin to do both spots. And that's what Caitlin's doing here, both spots. Now, let's look at this. Caitlin's off. This is good team defense, knowing where you're supposed to be. Okay, look at the other players. Boston, there's no threat. You could pinch. And you got Samuelson's got to block off, but Mitchell's got to hold it down and get the triangle. Let's see where this one goes. Okay, you got an easy bucket coming over. We got defensive position. That's good basketball play. Now, right there, you can see the post activity and the dive. That one there is going to catch it. Okay, because here's what you got in this, folks. And look at this one again. You got a situation where you got her coming off, and you got them sealed, and that's a basketball play. And that's what you want to have. Look at this. You got them sealed. Everybody's eyes on the basketball. Let's roll it through, see who's doing what. You got them sealed there. Okay, you got them pinching down. Mitchell's reacting. You got all three perimeter players out on the triangle out there, and everybody's in the paint, and that makes a defensive play. You got a dive coming. It's coming. You got to block that off, Mitchell. Okay, so I'm running these things, and I clipped them out multiple times because here's a play that you covered the dive, you covered everything you needed to do, and you were able to make that play happen. Now, here we go a little bit further. Look at this, okay? You see that? That's where you're going to call Caitlin Clark getting beat, but Caitlin Clark did not get beat, okay? Here's what you got to see, folks. You got to look at it from a team defensive perspective. Now, when I say look at it from a team defensive perspective, Caitlin Clark and all the other players out there, they all have a job to do collectively. They all have to do that job, and they all have to get things done so that there's no issues or anything like that or coming out of Fever. On the defensive end, and that's what concerns me, is Caitlin Clark's playing the team defense. You'll always see her in team defense. Everybody else is playing the individual defense. It makes it harder to cover, harder to guard. And that's the difference. Now, if you look at it right there, I'll tell you there's a dive and a spin off and a roll. And when you look at this play, folks, I'm just saying, look at it from the standpoint of what happened in the play. Now, here's where you're going to get a slip. You got a players running through. You got a boxed off seal here. You got next, you're going to get a triangle. Now, watch how this play develops here. And you got Caitlin Clark's got the wing. She's staying off. Okay, you got Mitchell just lost the dive player. They had him open twice. Okay, and you come back here and you look at this, and then you got the roll. Okay, Mitchell's players going here. Your eyes are on the basketball. You're supposed to stay. You got the position. And watch what happens. You go away. There's nobody there. You can't play team defense, and that's where Caitlin gets frustrated. And Christy Sides is saying she can't play defense. Folks, that's not even close. Watch Caitlin here. Look, there you go right there. Mitchell runs off on the play because she didn't see the ball. She would have saw the dive. Caitlin's sitting there, becomes extremely frustrated because she's like, come on, guys. Come on. Okay, look at all four. The ball, listen, folks, the ball's on the strong side. How do we get 1, 2, 3, 4 players? This one's on the midline, but everybody else is on the weak side, and the ball's on the strong side. That one blows me away. But here's a play I could run it through again and again and again, and you're going to see it. There it is. You got them going, rolling. They're going to kick it. There it is, coming right off. Now, here's the play that I'm going to look at, and I'm going to say, okay. Now, when I get Caitlin's not doing something, and I get the triangle, if you got the triangle, folks, this player would be off here. They're getting ready to attack. You got middle attack right there, right on the line. You got here and here. If anything Caitlin could have did, you could step to it if it's not there. And that's the important piece because, look, the ball is here. Here's the ball, folks. Here's the defender. I have no idea where you're going. And when I say Christy Sides could coach, folks, I could put it to you 150 different ways. I could bring it to you. I could tell it to you. And at the end of the day, it's got to be executed, and there's no doubt about it. I've seen some great coaches. I've seen some great players that coach. In fact, I was in Seattle one time, had an opportunity in grassroots coach against John Stockton, John Stockton's daughter. And as tough as John Stockton was, and folks, we apply a lot of pressure at Showtime Hoops, a lot of defensive pressure. So the rotations or everything are far more important than scoring to me. And this is the fever issue. And this is a major challenge because you got guys do not get the scheme. They don't get the concept. They don't understand what's going on out here. And you go to the podium and you want to say you're trying to get the stops. Now, we could do that for so much, but folks, we can't fool ourselves. We can't really do that. We got to eventually say to ourselves, here's what we're doing. And here's a special play. I'm going to run this because I want you to tell me what the heck's going on here because I would go ballistic. Now, here's how many players trailing the basketball. Here's where I get on Caitlin. Now, Caitlin's a good defender. We got greatness. Nobody trails the basketball. That's the cardinal rule. And when I'm coaching, nobody trails that doggone basketball. And if you let a player get out there like that and you guys can't get down there and sprint out and get this done, look at the wing going. I'm so wide open over here on the weak side because nobody's going to stop the doggone basketball. So in defensive transition, folks, somebody's got to stop the basketball, okay? And you look at this thing here, and they're running out on you, and you guys are just not even trying to come up and stop the basketball because if the player can't get there, that's a problem, all right? And here you come back to the show, okay? When I talk about the show, okay, here's Williams, here comes Smith, okay? And you really don't have a screen there, so you could sprint in there and get there. But here's where the play really breaks down, and you see it, okay. So you got Smith's not showing. Smith sitting back below the three-point, should be up given the defensive pressure. Okay, but you don't do that. You got Caitlin forming the triangle. You got over here, you got a hole, needs to drop in and form that triangle and be ready. Now, who's going to recover and get back to the shooter? That's the problem, okay? Because Smith relaxes, okay, and now the responsibility is saying, okay, Wheeler, Mitchell, spin around and get this shooter. Now, here's Caitlin trying to come all the way from the weak side. Boston's getting the rotation. Hell, if we get her up there, then what the hell is everybody else doing? Excuse me, folks. That's just not a word I want to use, but it just made me look at this play. And you want to look at it, and you want to look at how it's good. Here's where the breakdown goes because the team defense is not there. There's Caitlin sprinting, right? So now I'm going to sprint over here and take somebody else's assignment. I got to leave my assignment. There's nobody here to take my assignment because Boston's up. Boston needs to be out here taking this, and now we got to have them, the weak side, sprint down and get in the triangle to do the cover. And if you don't got the sprint down, look at Boston trying to cover two players. Folks, I can go round and round and round and round and round. Caitlin Clark's a great defender. Caitlin Clark's a team defender. And when you play team defense and you do it right, you got to look at this. Look at this play here, okay? And you look at it, I'm going to tell you the good things here, and you look how it formulates because the Indiana's got to show. There's Boston. You're getting a screen. Boston needs to be pressed up. Same thing they do to Caitlin Clark. You got to force their hand on that. Now, here's Mitchell. Mitchell can't even see the ball, never cares to see it anyway. I mean, Mitchell could be an all-star, first-team all-WNBA player, but there's just too much going on that doesn't care about the other parts of the game. Maybe she does. I don't know her personally, so I can't speak it. But one thing I'll tell you, that as a pro and from college, folks, when you get up to this level, this is the pros. You're a public figure. You got a job to do, and they're claiming you to be one of the best 144 players in the world. Then you got to go out there and show it. You got to have the IQ. As I say in the NFL, you got to have a master's degree to play it. Pretty soon in the WNBA, you're going to need a master's degree to play it because here's the deal. Look at this. There's a basketball. Now, here's Smith. You're just turning out of the play. You don't care. Here's going to be your switch and your rub, but hell, you don't even want to get there. Okay, so we got double player, and here comes Boston so deep, got to play above the three-point line, and that's how this game is played. And, folks, I could let you look at film after film after film after film, and when I do, it's just like, what are we doing, guys? What are we really trying to do? Because when you look at this from a defensive point, this is the last one I'll cover. You've got it here, so now I need my triangle. Okay, you got Wheeler's most important. You got it coming here. This is a good sequence. You got them boxed off. Shot goes up. Bucket goes in. Now we'll come back here. We're going to run it off. Okay, now here's the deal. You got what is Mitchell doing here? We're running the double defense. I'm just like, we're running the double defense now because I have no idea. If we got 3-on-2 over here and they're sitting over here with three players and we got two, that's going to be a problem. Okay, so you got to look at that and you're saying, okay, what are we doing? There's the open shot. Don't get the recover, and we're back. Okay, so that's kind of what I got, folks. I've been looking at this Caitlin Clark defense, and how they're looking at Caitlin and what they're saying she's doing, and it just comes down to the Indiana Fever playing team defense, and that's what the Fever are not doing now. I want to get back to when you talk about Caitlin and what she's doing out there and how Caitlin's doing it and how Caitlin's getting it done. Folks, the stat numbers are outstanding. Here's what I kind of contemplated last night I wanted to share with you. If you look at Caitlin Clark's turnovers, she's at a 2-to-1 ratio. Okay, I mean, greatness is 3-to-1, which you can get to. But if you're throwing 12 assists, you're getting 6 turnovers. That's a 2-to-1. That's acceptable because you're getting a lot of buckets off that and you're making plays. Now, here's where Caitlin gets it back and she cancels it out. On the defensive side with Caitlin Clark, Caitlin might get 6 turnovers, but Caitlin's getting 5-6 steals too. Okay, so that cancels out the turnovers and brings it back where it's collectively working itself out. This is the Money Mike Syndicated Radio Podcast. We're powered up by Fanatics. Rookie of the Year, that's not even close. You got to look at it. Rebounds versus assists. I'll take the rebounds any day of the week. And we are bringing it to you. This is the Money Mike Syndicated Radio Podcast. All things are possible to those who believe. This was a great session. We'll see you again, and we'll keep on breaking it down and get ready for you. If you love football, we got Aaron Rodgers, Jets. We'll be putting extension coverage on him. Stay tuned. We are having too much fun. All things are possible to those who believe. This is the Money Mike Syndicated Radio Podcast, powered up by Fanatics, and we're going higher and higher and higher. We'll see you soon.